Welcome back. It is the Flow Friday Sports Show on Flow FM. Into the world of the North Central Netball Association for the first time in 2024. And the president of the association, Kylie Walsh, joins me to talk about so many different things, as well as obviously the action on the court, which will take place this weekend for the first time this year. Kylie, long time between drinks. How are you holding up?
Good, thanks, Alice. It seems like only last week we spoke, but yes, there has been an off-season apparently.
It's incredible. We were saying off air that it's felt like not very long at all since we concluded last season, but a jam-packed off-season. It's probably the most eventful netball off-season I've heard of.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I don't say that lightly. Perhaps we should start there. So just looking at some updates with regards to the association. Firstly, there's a new grade. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, just with some feedback from clubs within our association. We've gone with introduced another senior grade this season with C Reserve. And that was truly off the back of last year. You might remember we didn't have an official 17B. So we felt that by introducing this, we might be able to blend some of the 17s that wouldn't get a game of official competition and with some seniors throughout the club, and hopefully that they'll get on the court and have a blend of youth and knowledge and have a positive season this year and not miss out on netball.
All right, just to hone in on that, give us the lay of the land. So these netballers, no matter what grade they're playing, they're paying match fees. They're not getting paid. So it makes a lot of sense to obviously have the most inclusive approach you can have. And that's where a lot of clubs get stuck, perhaps in other codes more, where they're, sort of in that halfway house of do we go with another team or not? Because obviously logistically it might become a case of, in that second part of the winter, everyone's going away and getting sick and all those things, and then suddenly you can't fill the team. Obviously, it makes sense this time around to have that new grade.
Yeah, it does. And the board itself was a little concerned with a couple of clubs that had, they were fortunate enough to have a lot of juniors in the 17 and under competition. And we were just a little bit concerned that if they went into another season of not having a 17 and under B competition, that we'd lose those players forever to netball. So with this introduction of 17 C Reserve, we're hoping then, like you said, they can still play, and it's an official competition. And then also some of the other clubs have now joined in, and there's senior players that are that might have retired that are going to have another year in netball. So it'd be good to see them blend through their knowledge with the younger players. So it'd be good to watch.
All right. The other thing we are watching is how these new teams, well, not new teams, but how these new look teams are all going to look, given the merry-go-round of player changes and coaching changes. Why don't you update us on the most significant ones on that front?
I think, from the top of the alphabet, Becky Watson got a new coach, Stacey Hamilton. So I guess she'll be aiming to go a bit deeper into the final season with the Bulls. I don't think their lineup will be much different, but I think they'll miss the agility of Maddie Mark. I think Bort will have a completely different look as opposed to their grand final squad. They've lost Steph Wilson, Sophie Perriman and Jo Isaac, so that's lost their attacking lineup. But I think with Georgia Hoare back coaching this season, she would have worked hard in getting some new combinations. So, Charlton, they've got to buy this first round, so I'm sure they've still got a heavy heart. They had a loss of a younger netballer with Maddie Fitzpatrick last month. So I'm really hoping that Charlton will regroup and draw strengths from their community bond that they have. And North Central Netball Association, Football League and Hockey Association in round 9, we're introducing an honorary round called Maddie's Round, and that's not only to acknowledge Maddie and her family, but all families who have been touched by cancer in some way or another. So I'll speak more about that later in the season, Alice.
Yeah, very sad, but I love the fact that this is exactly the level where these kinds of things get the most coverage and people shining a light on the losses of important community members like this. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it was everyone's been highly touched by the loss of Maddie, and we've all got around the Fitzpatrick family because they've done a lot in our community sport, and just great people in general. So, yeah, this will be a tough round for the family, but also to acknowledge everyone who's been touched by cancer. So, yeah, I'll touch on that before round 9. But as we mentioned, you mightn't have heard with the merge in 2025 of Ngunnawal and Witcherproof Narraport. So I think those two clubs will be aiming to go high. I don't know how Ngunnawal could go higher on what they did last season, coming into a debut season and smashing out all the grand final. It was wonderful, but I'd say they'll want to hit the finals again this season. And Witcherproof Narraport have a new coach with Chantal White at the helm, so I think they'll be aiming to go higher into the season. So there's been a few around. It's nice for Sea Lake Nandali Tigers to have Jodie Cox back at the court side. And she's also, with her back in the helm, she's got Ash Roberts, Ebony McLean and Nikita Nunn. So those 4 will add so much depth to that club. And I actually think they'll be one to watch this season, Alice.
Just thought you dropped that one into a loaded answer, did you? Cat's out of the bag, that merge in Ngunnawal and Witch here. Is there going to be any white line fever between those two this year? I suppose there can't be, really, can there? No, you wouldn't hope. It'll make it hard to join next year if there's bad blood, but no, the kids go to school in Witcherproof over there, so they have a lot of community events together, so I think the transition will be quite smooth. But yeah, I think they'll be both determined to finish off on a high note at their courts this season. No doubt about it. Before we get into round 1, I am going to ask you about this new rule, which we're really focusing in on this week, because it's going to impact regional netball in one way or another. Now, you could look at this 2 different ways. It can become tactical, rotating subs. We know that it does slow the game down, whether the siren stops or not. You know, there's momentum that eases, and you can do all kinds of things tactically. But at the same time, if you're trying to protect a narrow lead, then you're taking a risk taking off the nucleus of your team, aren't you? So it'll be fascinating to see how this gets used by various coaches this year.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit of a phase when it's a bit warmer at the start of the season. I think it'll be great tactically in finals. Like you said, I think it'll break concentration of your goalies if you're tactically putting 2 different defences. But we were fortunate to have Bree Bentley, A-grade badge umpire from Bendigo, come and do a Zoom for us. So we've been over the rules a little bit, the new rules. So the rolling sub will be interesting for us. But I think it's great tactically. I've had a little dabble at it myself, as I mentioned, and I don't think you need to go overboard. Me personally, I didn't go overboard with it, but it's a good where you need to have that little change and not have to wait for quarter time to speak to your players.
Well, we'll see how it goes, that's for sure. Into round 1, I'm not sure whether you want to take an opportunity to fill us in on, what your impressions are of how every round 1 game is going to end up across all the various senior grades. Why don't you just give us a bit of a teaser? Let's call it a teaser of round 1.
A teaser. Okay, well, we have Sea Lake Nandali Tigers at home to Boort. Even though Sea Lake will probably have a lot of a new lineup throughout A grade, I think Boort will come in quite determined. So I'm tipping Boort for that one. We have Tanana at home to Wedderburn. I think Wedderburn will be too strong. Donald at home to Witcherproof Narraport. That'll be a really great game. I feel that Donald might come across the line this with Zancy Rice at the helm of A grade, and she's probably imported some new players to blend with her youngsters. So I think she will be quite determined with that, and Donald will come a win. Ngunnawal versus Watson, that'll be a nice little grudge match. I don't know where this will go because I think Ngunnawal have lost a couple of players, so this will be quite close. I don't know. I'm sitting on the fence with this one, Alice.
Well, we know that you didn't do a whole lot of fence sitting last season, but you'll do it where you need to, I suppose, because it is a pretty unpredictable competition. Kylie Walsh, that's where we'll... For sure. Well, that's where we'll leave it for this week. It's great to welcome you back to the airwaves in 2024. Thanks for all your insights and thanks for being across everything in the top manner that you are. And we'll speak to you next week. Enjoy the netball in round 1.
Thank you, Alice. Can I just also give a shout out to, we've got a couple of major sponsors that have come on board for North Central as well this year with Bendigo Bank, Community Bank Carlton, who have avid supporter of community sport. We've also like to thank Northwest Ag for their contribution, AgriFac Australia and Better Electrical, who sponsored Tanana, sponsored Bree Bentley, the umpire session. It's wonderful to have them on board, and that's just going to make such a difference to our country netball.
Kylie, thanks for your time. Enjoy the netball.
Thanks, Al. Have a good weekend.